The truth has finally been revealed for the Chicago Bulls. Of course, we've seen the Chicago Bulls land in the ninth seed in the Eastern Conference and fall to the Miami Heat in the play-in. However, could their success have gone a whole nother way if they would have had an NBA champion on their team? Hello, my name is Isaias Jackson Jr. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Bulls Digest. We got to get into the report on the Chicago Bulls passing up on Michael Porter Jr. last season and if it was worth it or not. However, 67.5% of you guys are not subscribed. 32.5% of you guys are. We appreciate you guys on both sides of the field. And look, we're just going to have some fun today. I can't stand John Sally. Can't stand John Sally. Long story short, he got mad at me as a producer because I was calling asking for an interview for a morning show. He wasn't really the happiest guy, if I can be honest there. To keep it PG, wasn't really the happiest guy. So I've held that grudge against him. It's been like maybe 4 or 5 years. And if you hold a grudge against any former Chicago Bulls player, hit the subscribe button, like and share, and also leave your comments in the comment section because I would love to read it and go through it because I would love to have some fun with that as well. Bulls rejected trade for NBA champion with major red flag. We already brought up the name in itself, Michael Porter Jr., of course. I don't think it's no secret at all. And by the way, this is also by Josh Buckhalter. Do want to give the man credit as well. So, of course, the Chicago Bulls had an opportunity to trade for an NBA champion who previously suggested he wanted to land with them as well. NBA's.com Sam Smith believes the Denver Nuggets were trying to trade forward Michael Porter Jr. to the Bulls last offseason. The Bulls, however, decided against the move, an outcome Smith supported while questioning his fit in Chicago. In addition to a high salary, Smith believes that Porter is too injury prone to invest in, and I think the writing is on the wall there. We've been talking about that since he's been drafted, and so you've seen him, and I believe he was drafted he was the 14th pick in the 2018 draft. So when you're looking at Michael Porter Jr., we saw the talent was there, but of course you saw the back injury that was nagging at him in college. And of course, now you're looking at, can he perform at the high level? Is he going to stay healthy at a high level? And recently, you can say that he has. He definitely has. But in the beginning, of course, you're still looking at leg injuries. You're still looking at shoulder injuries from Michael Porter Jr., just something that is still scary in itself. And also, as we mentioned, it's just a huge red flag as well. So, of course, Porter seems much too fragile, even without counting his shoulder issues in these playoffs, which he did try to play through to his credit, but he makes maximum money of about $40 million these next 2 seasons, and I'm pretty sure they were trying to trade him to the Bulls for Zach Lavine this season. He's one of those way overpaid guys, given his game, which is limited to excellent shooting for a big man, Sam Smith wrote on May 23rd. He's poor with the basketball, doesn't handle or pass well, and I'd stay away from him, which the Bulls apparently did last February. And honestly, with the Bulls, with what they're doing right now, Michael Porter Jr., he is young, 27 years old. I still think there's a lot you could do with him, but I do think that comes with a cost because with Michael Porter Jr., there's a lot of talent there. You have a superstar with Nikola Vucevic. If you're not playing well, you do have the likes of Aaron Gordon that's going to come through and shine when the moment is hot. There you have Jamal Murray, of course, another guy that's, right underneath Nikola Vucevic that's going to come through and play for the Denver Nuggets and also contribute at a heavy amount. But when you're Michael Porter Jr. and you slide over to the Chicago Bulls, say you have to go into a game where there is no Josh Giddey and it's just you and a Kobe White, how are you going to build up through it? Of course, Nikola Vucevic is going to do his thing, but Nikola Vucevic also dealt with injuries as well throughout this season too. So to call Michael Porter Jr. Reliable himself in his own right, I do think can be a little bit scary when you're asking him to do a whole lot in 82 games. So I think Michael Porter Jr. Being passed on from the Chicago Bulls, I think was a really good move in itself for the Chicago Bulls. Of course, the number 14th overall pick in the 2018 draft, 27 years old, he averaged 18, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists while shooting close to 40% from beyond the arc in the 2024-2025 season. He's headed into year 4 of a 5-year, $179 million contract. Of course, he could have been paired with Buzelis, but of course, this didn't turn out to be the case. So, of course, just looking at the great work that he's done right now, Porter averaged 9.6 points per game on 36% shooting and 8 rebounds as well through those finals. He struggled beyond the arc, hitting 14% as well, but he also started and closed the set with double doubles. Porter had played in 158 out of a possible 164 games over the 2023, 2024, and 2024-2025 season, which could suggest the worst of his injury woes are behind him since he was able to play through his shoulder issues as well. So he's a tough guy as well. Like, we're not talking about a scrub. We're not talking about a slouch. We're talking about a man who is willing to play through the pain no matter what the case is. Now, it's just a matter of, look, you're 27 years old. The Chicago Bulls are still looking to build, are still looking to grow. The Denver Nuggets have already won a ring with the talent that they had and the roster that they built as well. And with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray themselves, I think the talent there, is great in itself, to where if you don't have Michael Porter Jr., which in a couple games they didn't in terms of when he doesn't show up or doesn't contribute to the level that they expect him to, you're fine. You don't need Michael Porter Jr., at least in that instance, when you already have your two superstars there. When, of course, we already talked about looking at the flip side for the Chicago Bulls, the fit there just wouldn't work at all. And especially if we're relying on a Michael Porter Jr. and you're not there and you're not going to be there to show up. We can say the injury woes are behind you, but when you're going on the team where you're going to be needed, more often than not, and you're not available and you're not there and they're expecting you to play through those shoulder injuries, I don't think that's going to work well, and I don't think that would be a great fit for not only the Chicago Bulls, but for Michael Porter Jr. himself. It's not something that I don't think he would be best suited for either. Bulls, of course, Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations, Arturas Karnisovas, was in the Nuggets front office, serving as the team's general manager when Porter was drafted. Porter averaged 9.3 points per game on 59% field goal shooting in Karnisovas' final season with the Nuggets. Few executives, and I thought this was important, few executives has as much insight into Porter's medical injury as Karnisovas, and I think that kind of says a whole lot there. If anybody's going to know a whole lot about Michael Porter Jr., it's going to be Arturas himself. So for him to pass up on a Michael Porter Jr., Denver Nuggets, I feel like they're making that move, number one, because, of course, you see the value, and, of course, it's going to match with someone like a Zach Lavine. And I think the Denver Nuggets would have loved to have someone like a Zach. But, however, when you're seeing the Chicago Bulls, it's not going to fit in their case. It's not, Michael Porter Jr. is not going to fit in that system, especially when, as we talked about it before, your best ability is going to be your availability at that point in time. Karnisovas would already know. And if he already knows that he can't rely on you, first and foremost, I think he already knew. I think it's safe to pass on this because I can definitely get something better. Now, even just looking at, of course, the stats of it all, if I can pull it up, Michael Porter Jr., of course, averaging 18 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and this is just this season. Of course, a 6'10", 27-year-old monster when he can be, shooting 50% from the field, close to 40% from the three-point line, from the three-point range as well. And this season, as we talked about it before, this season and last season, he has been available. He has come in clutch, and he has showed up for the Denver Nuggets when need be. However, when you see the Chicago Bulls and their trade, when they traded for Zach Lavine, over to the Sacramento Kings, and of course they got their players from the San Antonio Spurs, and you're seeing guys like Trey Jones averaging 7 points per game, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 53% from the field, of course, as well, close to 40% from three-point range as well. And you saw the work he did when Josh Giddey was out, when Josh Giddey wasn't available and Trey Jones stepped up. You saw the 20 points, you saw the 15 points, you saw the 6+ assists, you saw the 5+ assists in those games. Trey Jones definitely stood out, and not only just Trey Jones, you also have Zach Collins as well, 6 points, 4 rebounds, and of course as well 1 assist a game, 50% from the field, 30% from three-point range, not even asking him to do much from three-point range either. But 6'11", 27-year-old as well. A bunch of younger guys too that the Chicago Bulls got in this Zach Lavine trade, and they stepped up when the starters weren't healthy, when the starters got injured. Because when Nikola Vucevic wasn't available, you saw Zach Collins step up in the forefront, and he played a really, really solid outing. And then, of course, you've seen, of course, Kevin Huerter, 9 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, got off to a slow start and never really got back, never really got consistent in his play, but you still see, I at least see there's a bright spot in Kevin Huerter's game. If he could just get his jump shot right, if he could just be a little bit more consistent from 3-point range, I do think we have ourselves a nice role player off the bench. However, it doesn't look like that has been the case as of late. But the difference is, with these 3 guys, they have been available and they have been there. And of course, we've gotten some role players, we've gotten some help off the bench. So of course we do believe in our starters. You do believe in the Josh Giddeys, the Buzelis. You do believe in the Kobe Whites. And this season, at least, you believed in Nikola Vucevic. Whether he was getting traded or not, you still believe that he was going to come in and contribute for the team. And with that Zach Lavine trade, you got the Trey Jones. You got some help off the bench. You got the Zach Collins. You got some reinforcement. And you got also a look into the future. You saw that there was some bright spots, in their game, and you played it to their best, to their ability, and you got the full potential of the Chicago Bulls team this season after the All-Star break. So honestly, I think with this Zach Lavine trade, I thought this was the best bet for the Chicago Bulls. I do think we got the right outcome this season, at least with that Zach Lavine trade, because I do think with Michael Porter Jr., I do think he's carrying a heavy load, and not to clown on the man's injuries at all, but I do think he shouldn't be carrying any load that he shouldn't be needed to at this point in his career. I know he's young. I know he still has a lot in the tank. However, injuries is still playing a part in his career, and I do think putting more on his plate, and I do think it's going to add more wear and tear. And with the Chicago Bulls, I do think it would have done just that, and I don't think he would have been as available for the Denver Nuggets as he is to the Chicago Bulls. But what do you think? Do you think this would have been a great move for the Chicago Bulls to bring in Michael Porter Jr., to give us the duo of Michael Porter Jr. and Buzelis? Or do you think the Chicago Bulls are better off without him, and you're happy to see the future of the Chicago Bulls? Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.